Good morning, dear parent. Um, have you ever gone to school where your child is learning, and then when you are handed over to the school or the class ranking list after exams, you realize that the stream where your son or your daughter is in is always the last one? Since Form 1, it has always been the last one. Right now you are in Form 2, it has always been the last one. You are now in Form 3, it has always been the last one. You are now in Form 4, it is always the last one. Every time teachers rise to talk about that class, they talk very negatively. They say students in that class are undisciplined, they are lazy, they have got all the negative adjectives to use to describe the students of that class. Does your child belong to that kind of a class? In my own terms, I always call such kind of a class a condemned class, or rather the black sheep of the school. The reason why sometimes I like talking about such kind of a class is because in 2022, I was handed over to a class like that, which was in Form 3, third term. A class that no teacher wanted that class. In fact, the class teacher even ran away from that class. He didn't want anything to do with that class. And when I sit in the staff room and you hear what teachers say about that class, including teachers who teach that class, they use words like watoto wa hiyo class wanakaa ni kama wamepagawa na mapepo, sijui nini nini, a very negative attitude. That is what we call a condemned class. If your child is a weak learner and finds himself or herself in that kind of a classroom or a class, you are doomed. What annoys me and baffles me is that every time parents of such kind of classes sit down, because of the negative, there's a way somebody can negatively talk about you or your child until you find yourself being negative and rebellious. So most parents, when they sit down, one thing that you will realize from the teachers who teach those classes, they will tell you that even the parents of those classes, they are not cooperative. But then I ask myself a question. How will a class be cooperative when you've already condemned them? I know of some schools in this country that have condemned people's children they have actually not condemning, it is profiling people's children to the extent that they divide children into streams based on performance. Number 1 to number 60, they are given their own stream. Those are special students. 61 to number 120, given another one. Those ones are the big group. Then another stream is just consisting of the D's, the E's, and the people they regard as failures. What becomes of your weak learner or your weak child who belongs to this class that is already profiled as weak learners or failures or hopeless children? What becomes of them? Do you know the reason why parents become rebellious, parents of those classes become rebellious, is because you have already killed their hopes as a teacher. You've already killed their desire as a teacher. And now when they look at their children, their children look like mistakes to them. Themselves, they look like criminals before you. So how do you sit down? Let me tell you, I was new in this school. Then I was given this class, a group of 51 girls. Just previously, before I was given that class, 4 or 5 of the girls had already been expelled, one after the other, because of indiscipline cases. And then I was given this class. I was given this class even before I reported in that school. And I was given this class, I sat down with them and I wanted to gather information from them. So I gave them some small papers. I told them to write anonymously what the problem in the class was. Then they wrote all the issues they were having in class. I went and sat down and went through all the 51 pieces of paper. Of the 51 papers I got, there were 51 lamentations of girls saying that we are hated in this school teachers don't like us. Teachers feel like we are failures. That is what bedevils a class that has been ranked or has been profiled as a bad class or a weak class. Now, I sat down with these girls. I talked to them for over 4 hours. I went to that class at around 6:30. I left at 10:30 in the night. We talked at length. I spoke my heart out to them. I told them they can't be. I went through each and every person's KCPE performance and I was telling them this is where you should be at this time. This is where you should be at this time. This class of yours where your child is, when the school is releasing results for the class, let's say they are Form 1, they say number 1, Form 1 East, number 2, Form 1 West, number 3, Form 1 North, number 4, number last, the whole school shouts because they know that is where the class where your child is belongs. It is traumatizing. It is traumatizing. And let me tell you one deep secret that you don't know, because I know others will talk later. When a class has been profiled in that manner and a section of the staff or the staff feels like the students in that class are rebellious, they're always indisciplined, what happens is this. Even the kind of selection of teachers that are taken to that class is always manipulated. In every staff, there are teachers that every teacher knows this is a workaholic, this is a guy who is result-oriented. This is a precious jewel that if you have in your class as a class teacher, you will move places. There are teachers also in some staff rooms who people know this is a junk. This is just statistically available. Very lazy, very negative about the school, cannot do anything, has never produced anything meaningful in the school other than camping in the staff room for school meals and waiting for remedial money to be paid. Now, this is what they will do. When they are now allocating classes to different teachers to different classes, all the teachers who belong to category 2 that I've talked about will be pumped into your class. See those teachers who come to class with a textbook and say, okay, open page 26. They read like they're reading a scripture of the Bible. Take notes, we shall continue from there. The lesson is gone. The attitude is not there. The focus is not, their heart is not just with that class. They're doing it so that they are not punished by TSC and maybe the principal of the school. Most of them will be put in that class. So imagine a situation whereby psychologically your child has been traumatized. They have already been limited because of how they have been called and been managed. And now they are given somebody who does not have even their best interest at heart. What becomes of your child? If your son or your daughter belongs to that particular class, this video is yours. Find me on 0727458852. We need to talk as urgent as possible. We need to address some issues as urgent as possible. If you truly value your child, we need to address some of these issues as fast as possible. When results were coming out last year and my class had exemplarily performed ahead of the rest, people didn't believe. People didn't believe. And this is a situation whereby I was having 2 candidate classes. So I was given English to teach in another class, which was doing poorly in English. And then I was given this other class, which was nowhere to be seen. And guess what? When KCSE results came, they followed each other, number 1, number 2. When even you look at their performance comparatively with other schools from within the county, they are up there. And it made me believe it is all here. If you can be able to confirm to the children that there's something they have here, and you can connect here and here of theirs, and connect it to your vision as a teacher, I can tell you there's no kind of a classroom that is called condemned or a class of failures. I don't believe there's somebody's child who is called a failure. No. There's a level of empowerment that I call it academic incitement. There's a way I incited these girls until one of the lazy teachers we have in the staff room one day decided to write a letter to TSC telling TSC that I have been bragging before teachers and branding other teachers lazy and useless, and I'm the only best teacher. When I go to class, I tell them you are going to be taught by the best teacher in English. Let us meet and talk.